welcome to the District 60B workshop, training workshop for committee chairpersons. We're really very happy that you could join us this evening. And we are very, very privileged to have with us a lady that hails from District 60A and who is renowned for many things. For instance, I used to run when I saw her because she is a tail twister par excellence. And you would be in trouble if she caught you doing anything that might be, or she would turn an ordinary thing into something that you got tail twisted about, really. And also she is a trainer of vast experience. So we're very, very privileged to have with us Lion Myrtle Lube, Melvin Jones Fellow, hailing from Tobago. And as I said, she is highly experienced, and we are really, really very privileged to have her. So, Lion Myrtle, without further ado, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And thank you for agreeing to share your vast expertise in this and other areas. And the floor is now yours.
Thank you so much, Lion Denise. And it is always a pleasure to do what you have asked me to do. It's one of the things I do best. I like not only giving back to the community outside of Lions, but giving back to Lions. So that I say so that as I move off the scene, I help to ensure that there are others who are going to come after me and blaze their own trail. So, welcome everybody. I see we have perhaps about 18, well, more than 10 committee chairs.
Yes, about 17.
About 17.
Yes.
Okay. I looked at your program and I saw that some of the committee chairs have already done their workshop separately. So that is marketing chair. Am I right?
Well, there have been other service, yes.
Yeah.
There's been service, and really in those areas that I suppose you would regard as, you know.
So whom do we have now? Could the participants
for instance,
say?
For instance, I would imagine that we have had a workshop for the service committee chairpersons, but persons who would be responsible for various committees, site, education, environment, etc. Those committee chairpersons, I think, are who we would have here this evening.
Okay.
And of course, we would also welcome service chairpersons. I don't see any that based on the on the list that was there yesterday. But the majority of persons that we would have would be those persons working on leading committees, and of course working with the service chairperson.
Okay.
You know, in terms of that, that is what I'm anticipating. But perhaps we could ask one or two of them, Lion. I'm going to lay hands, for instance. Lion, Eleanor, did I get that right? Eleanor Clark. Are you going to be a committee chair in the upcoming year, and for what area? Don't ask me why I picked on you, Lion, Eleanor. It's no, I just saw the name. Can you unmute to tell us, just so that we're sure that we're on the right track here this evening? Or if Lion Eleanor is shy, can somebody else? Or do I have to lay hands? Lion Andrea Seaman, could you share with us what committee you'll be sharing in the new year?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Lion Andrea Seaman Williams from Dominica.
Yes.
I'm the outgoing vice president, and I will be looking at chairing the fundraising committee from what my Lion Press has instructed.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So Yes, so Lion Myrtle, I think I got it right.
All right. Okay, then.
Okay, fine. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. So, what we will cover, and I hope we do, we are going to just look a little into why we have committees in the first place. So you have a sense of why you are a committee chair, the types of committees, when and how you start. We are in June now. What do you do? We will look a little at your roles and responsibilities, delve somewhat into meeting management, proposal writing, and tips for success. Is there anything that any member would like to know, but that is not on my list?
Speak now or forever hold your peace, as you would say. This is a wonderful invitation to, and as I said, Lion Myrtle has vast experience. So if there's an area that's not listed that you'd like her to touch on, please indicate. But in any event, I would say that as we move into question and answers, and there may be issues that have arisen in the course, please feel free. So what I'm going to ask with your permission is to allow Lion Myrtle to complete her presentation, make note of your questions, and then we will take them at the end. Okay,
That's
it
good for
seems to me that we have agreement. Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Yes.
So why committees? All successful clubs need smaller and more manageable teams to support and achieve the broader goals set by international, because international does have goals. As long as we are a Lions Club, we would have to abide by some of the rules, requests, desires, goals of Lions International. The club president and the board of directors would also have goals. The global action team will also have goals. And you as a committee chair or as committees would also have goals. Now, those goals cannot be accomplished successfully without committees or smaller teams. So that's one. Committees are also, in case you didn't know, committees are the training ground for the leadership positions. So you accept the position of committee chair, and the scouts in the club and outside look at you and say, okay, this person, this Lion or this Leo, with further training and encouragement, mentoring, and so on, would be good for a district position or a cabinet position or a position on the board of your club. So not only are you being looked at by your club members, by the members of your board, but you are also being looked at by persons outside of the club, and recommendations are made for you to move on or move up, depending on how you do your job as a committee chair. So a successful committee, in a successful committee, we have a clear purpose that's outlined in the terms of reference. Now, I'm not seeing you, but if you could answer, just put your hand up and somebody, the moderator, would perhaps would see you. Are you familiar with the term terms of reference?
Please feel free to raise your hand and I will allow you to respond to Lion Myrtle's and unmute.
Your terms of reference.
So the question is, are you familiar with the terms of reference, and perhaps have any been developed for your committee that you will be chairing? Please, the floor is open.
Anybody?
Let's participate.
So I want to remind you that we have an hour. So we will have to close off at the end of an hour.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to put it another way. If you are familiar with the terms of reference, please raise your hands.
Anybody, Line Denise?
I am not seeing anybody, so
all right.
I think we should just proceed to provide an explanation. Yes. Okay, fine.
So a successful committee, one has a clear purpose outlined in the terms of reference. The reason for your being. And we're going to talk about that a little later. A well-informed and motivated leader. Well-informed and motivated leader. This tells you what you're supposed to be. And dedicated and involved members, with the emphasis on dedicated and involved. If you have members on your committee that are not involved, you know you have work to do to get them involved, because their involvement contributes to the success of your committee. Good. We're going to come back to terms of reference a little later. Just to refresh your memory, there are different types of committees in Lions Club. We have some called the standing committees, and those are created by Lions International, and you would find them outlined in the standard Lions Club constitution and bylaws. Standing committees. And there are others that are added by the club, and they are sometimes they're sometimes included in the club's bylaws or the policy manual. So for example, a club in Dominica may decide that they're going to have a cultural affairs committee. That's not in the standard Lions Club constitution, and you may find it only in the club in Dominica. And that would be a committee that is there year after year after year. So it's not a standing committee for Lions International, but it's a standing committee in your club, in the Dominica Club. And it would be included in your policy manual. These can be considered permanent, but they should be reviewed annually. Sometimes in reviewing, you change the name. Just like in government, you maintain the same function of somebody's portfolio, but you change the name. Okay? And these are some examples of standing committees. You have the Global Action Team. Yes, that's a committee with the president, leadership chair, membership chair, service chair. Sometimes you have extension chair. That's a committee. That's the membership committee is another standing one, service committee and leadership committee. And then you have some others. You'd find them in the standard Lions Club constitution, like marketing, constitution and bylaws, finance. We cannot operate without them. International says we must have them, and yes, they are permanent. But then we have some others, which are called ad hoc committees or special committees. They are appointed or created for a particular purpose and only for a short-term basis. So you may have a convention committee. Only, for example, if a convention is held in your island or your country. At the end of the convention, you do your evaluation and the committee is disbanded. That's a special committee or an ad hoc. In a club, you have some of those committees as well. They are dissolved when the goal is achieved. So you may have a committee to build a playground, just to build a playground. You may have a committee, if there is some conflict in the club, the president and the board of directors may appoint a special committee, like a mediation committee, to intervene in a club dispute. At the end of it, that committee is disbanded. Or you may have one to liaise with a government ministry if there is collaboration for a particular project. At the end of the project, the committee is disbanded. Some committees, for example, like service committee, may form subcommittees if the terms of reference are too big, if they're too involved. Any questions? Good. Now, as chairperson, and now I'm going to ask you, as chairperson, what do you think your roles and responsibilities are? And I'm sure the hands are going to be up.
So
Chairperson?
with that invitation, don't shout all at once, just unmute. All right, Andrea, you're recognized, yes.
Okay, hi. Of course, it will be to help to plan, to have an agenda, to plan for activities, to also to listen to the committee members, because we have members who fall under our committees, not just the chairperson only, and to listen to what they have to say and to mobilize and implement activities or projects being discussed.
Okay. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Line Andrea. Anybody else? I take it then that everybody else is new to this position. So,
or a bit shy. So, yeah.
Okay. So you are responsible for leading one of those committees I talked about. And they fall under 3 categories: administrative, like finance; service; or the fundraising arm of the club. So as chairperson, you're responsible for leading an administrative, service, or fundraising arm of your club. You are appointed by the club president, with the exception of those who have already been elected to serve on the board of directors, because we have some members of the board of directors perhaps holding the director's position, and they have been appointed as committee chairs. A chairperson may also be assigned an assistant chairperson. It's not always the case, but it happens. Now, when and how do you start? It's May or June. How many of you have started doing something? How many of you, or you're waiting until July?
I'm waiting.
Somebody is waiting until July to start?
Andrea was responding there. She said she's waiting.
Andrea. Now, what should happen is, as soon as elections are over and the president-elect gets to work, very often he or she doesn't get to work, rarely until July, but as soon as you encourage that person to get to work, because you ought not to wait until July. July is when you start working. That's the start of the fiscal year. But May and June are the busy months when the new committees start to plan. So you read and understand your ebook and other resources. You consult with your predecessor and ask for records, especially if the committee existed before. So you ask, you have your handover. So they hand over to you the files, whether it's soft copy, hard copy, but you hand over. Yes, Andrea?
I think in my case, it's a little different because I'm the outgoing vice president, which means I am aware of all the activities thus far that is happening under all of the committees. And we are still actually running a project, which kind of puts us in a little ticklish mood to have to go and start with a new committee. But of course, I understand what you're saying, and I do agree. Normally, we try to have a planning retreat, and our planning retreat will allow us to have that space to plan just before the start of July.
Yes. What is encouraged as well, you see, the committees are supposed to inform the new president as to what will happen in the next fiscal year. What we find happening, and is not encouraged, the new president at his installation or her installation says all the things that he or she would like to do, and says the club will do this and club will do that and the club will and we will, and the committees have not yet met. So to avoid that, you meet before and you talk with the president. You say what's possible, what's not possible. Of course, he or she would have his own wishes, but not to encourage presidents to stand at his or her installation and say what the club will do in the coming fiscal year when the committees themselves have not yet met and agreed on anything. So
Lan Myrtle, let me just tell you what is a written comment here.
Yes.
From Lan Pauline Allen. She says, I have been talking with my predecessor and start to pre-plan for the new year.
Wonderful. 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 So you consult with your predecessor and you ask for records. There must be records. If there aren't records, you start, because there is handover. You don't want to make the same mistakes that the outgoing committee made. So you consult with and advise the president-elect. Could somebody read the last two, please?
I'm seeing understand terms of reference and meet with committee members.
Exactly. Understand your terms of reference. And your terms of reference would have what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, and when. And then you meet with your committee members so that you hear what they have to say, so that you get their ideas. And not only that, you meet with them so you know them, you start bonding.
Lan Myrtle, may I pose a question?
Yes.
Suppose you are appointed a committee chair and no terms of reference exist.
You ask.
What would you propose?
You ask the president.
And do you ask the president for a set of terms of reference?
Yes,
or do you ask the president whether you should develop one? Which one do you?
No, you ask the president, and maybe it's in the president's head, or maybe in the minds of the members of the board, and get them to design the terms of reference. Then you can add or subtract, refine, make adjustments, but get them, because the president appointed you. What exactly are you you and the committee, what exactly are you all supposed to do? So you need them to come up with the terms of reference. When you are reporting, you bear the terms of reference in mind. But if they gave you a clean slate, ask them to meet with you and come up with, force them to do it, because that's their responsibility. Of course, you have some outlined in Lions International, but there could be adjustments made. So let the president and the board of directors do their job. And you can help them as committee chair. You may have more experience than some of them. Help them, but put their feet to the fire. Don't let them get away. Okay?
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Right. Your terms of reference. That's the first step to a successful committee. is the guiding framework or the written roadmap to ensure that the committee operates efficiently and remains focused on its goals. So if you have, let's say, one of the subcommittees of service.
Site.
Site.
Mhm.
You must have terms of reference. What exactly are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to do surgery? Are you supposed to do eye testing? Are you supposed to see about white cane? What are you supposed to do? If they give the committee chair a clean slate, then he or she and the committee may go beyond what the club can do. So we need the framework. We need the roadmap, which would assist us in setting our goals. These terms of reference contain clear and specific information on how the committee is organized, what its goals are, its composition, that's who is in the committee, and how the committee should report. Do they report every 2 months? Do they report every month, a week or two before the board meeting? Do they report every quarter? What you must know. Now, some are found, as I said, in the club's constitution and bylaws, but some would also be in your policy manual, which would be specific to your club. At other times, they are determined by the Global Action Team. Any questions there?
There are none, Murphy. You
Okay.
can go ahead. No hands raised yet.
Right. So at your first meeting, you use that first meeting to know your members, get to know you, because you all will be working for a year. Begin building a team and begin to discuss the same terms of reference. Your meeting arrangements, the logistics, where will you meet? Will you meet at members' homes? Will you meet virtually? Every other meeting? Will you meet at a play park? Will you meet on the beach? How long will the meetings would be? You discuss those at the first meeting. And the committee chair, you also listen to your members. How are you going to communicate? How will you communicate during the meeting, after the meeting, between meetings? Are you going to have a WhatsApp chat group? Are your meetings going to be on Zoom or Google Meet? Are you going to depend on phone calls? Are you find out who would prefer messages by WhatsApp as opposed to Gmail or the other way around? First meeting, your communication strategies. How are you going to report and when will you report? And what needs to be done before the report is written. Sometimes the president is waiting on information from members of not the president, the committee chair is waiting on information from other members and that information is not forthcoming. But the committee chair has to write a report or submit a report for the next board meeting and the members are not giving the information. All that should be discussed. Then you must discuss what resources you need and how much money if necessary. Then exactly what are you supposed to deliver and when? So you're going to have a calendar of events, bearing in mind that yours is not the only committee in the club. So don't hug the calendar. Every month you're doing something and the something that you're doing would require maximum participation. bearing in mind that there are other committees and members would also have to participate in the activities of the other committees. Your first meeting. Questions? Is this new to you?
No response at the moment, Lionel.
All right, we go on. Good. Now we come to the committee chair. Your responsibilities, meeting management. You have got to know how to manage your meeting. More on this later. Project management. If you are a project-related committee, you've got to know how to manage the project. How to report to the board. How to involve your members by delegation, as one example. And if you're dealing with money, financial oversight. There must be financial accountability. Those are some, and we go on. You, in case you don't know, as a committee chair, you're a leader. Sometimes people think leaders are those on the board, those alone. But no, you are. In fact, every lion is a leader. So consider yourself a leader. And you have leadership responsibilities. You've got to be good at decision making. Record keeping, because there's going to be a handover when your successor assumes the responsibility that you have next fiscal year. So you must keep your record and keep good records. That this is a new one for many people, mentoring. As a leader and as committee chair, you have the responsibility to mentor other persons so that they too can be committee chairs. So you've got to share. You've got to encourage. You have a document you share with everybody. Somebody gives you something, you share. When you leave this workshop, you share. Because others would need to grow just as you have grown. And just as you have learned from other persons, so you teach. You be a conduit. As the information comes through you, don't let it stay. The documents that you have are not for you alone. You pass them on and you mentor and you collaborate with members internally and externally with other lions as well. There are lions who are not in your club who would be willing to share with you, who would be willing to collaborate with you. And you make recommendations to the board so that if members of your committee need some assistance in decision-making, conflict management, then you make recommendations to the appropriate chair so that something can be done. Maybe training, a retreat, workshop, something. So you have an eye on the needs of your committees, the challenges that your members have, and you make recommendations. Because when all the committee chairs make recommendations, then the membership chair or the leadership chair and the committees would respond and mount some kind of program or some initiative to make your committees function much better. Now, this has always been a challenge, how to chair your committee. Do you notice I call it the picture. At the bottom, what do you notice? What do you notice at the bottom?
I'm seeing, hi, good night. I'm seeing we all sitting together around the table.
Around what table?
A round table around the
Exactly.
table.
That's the idea.
So it's never ending. We're all in this together.
Exactly, and everybody is on the same level. So although you are
Same
committee
level.
chair, you're not higher than everybody else. So you don't sit at the top and you talk down to them. The best posture, you sit at everybody, sit around, well, it doesn't have to be a round table, but everybody remain on the same level. And that's the first step. It also requires, that's chairing your committee, also requires strong leadership, because you're going to have some contentious issues and you're going to have some contentious people. So it would require strong leadership, organizational skills, and the ability to facilitate effective communication among members. How would you get members to communicate? How would you get members to contribute? How would you get members to express their ideas? And also, how would you get some members to allow other persons to speak? Or to shut up. Because if you're not good at managing your meeting, there are some members who can take it over. So let's go deeper into this. If you fail to prepare for your meeting, prepare to fail. Does anybody want to elaborate on that? If you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. What does that mean? I'd prefer if Lion Denise does not answer. I'm wondering if we have the, yes, Lion Damien. I am so glad to have you here. Yes, if you fail to prepare to fail.
Yes, Land Myrtle, happy to be here. Essentially, what that means is success is built on proper preparation. So if you want to be successful, you need to be prepared. Plan ahead, have things already in motion and know exactly what you're about and what you plan to do.
Well, what does that mean to these new committee chairs? What does that preparation look like? What do they need to do?
Well, definitely it's good to partner with, the predecessor. You want to,
Exactly.
have some conversation.
Yes.
Have an idea relative to where the president and the board, wishes to take the club. Ensure that you have, as you would have mentioned just now, do not stack your activities right throughout the year. Be planful relative to planning around other committee and other events, because quite frankly, if you stack your events, then more than likely you might have, some amount of conflict.
Exactly.
Conflicts will, somehow affect your ability to be effective at, executing your committee responsibilities.
But for a meeting, for the committee meeting, what preparation is necessary?
Well, for the committee meeting, and quite frankly, meetings in general, it is good sometimes you want to communicate, the time, how you plan to meet in the medium. It would be good also to nudge your members, your committee members, ahead of time, ask if, they'll be, attending the meeting. Because what you want to do, you want to foster high attendance. You want persons to be there. If it is the case, you have pre-work that needs to be done before the meeting. You want to, set that expectation ahead of time.
Yes.
So those are some of the actions you can take, to ensure that your meetings are successful and are, adequately attended.
Okay. Thank you so much.
There's a comment in writing, Lion, which says that agendas are important.
Very much so. You must have an agenda. Must. Absolutely. You must.
Yes.
You
Time
must have
and
an
agenda is what is said here. Yes.
So you utilize available tools and templates to help you plan. You can sometimes clubs have an agenda, set agenda for committee meetings. If not, you set your own. And there are tools and templates online. So they could help you plan, organize, and manage your meetings. Always have minutes. As in committees, we tend to be so lackadaisical, so informal that we forget to have minutes. Always have minutes. Always have minutes. And at the beginning of the next meeting, you go over the minutes, approve them, because you must be businesslike. You take this committee work seriously. So always have minutes, have somebody write the minutes, and if you can use Zoom and get your minutes, but be very careful. Sometimes, very often, they're not accurate. The Zoom records aren't accurate, so you still have to go over. Set and follow your agenda. Provide members with important information before meetings. Don't wait until the day and then you give the important information. Provide the information before so that members of your committee could go through. Maybe they could remind you that you didn't have something. Maybe that would be a reminder for them to do something. And they will be better prepared if they get the information. So you have letters from an external supplier, you have something from the board, or somebody wrote a letter to the committee. Give the members that before. Any important information, provide them with that before the meeting. Set the tone of the meeting. Is your meeting going to be formal and somebody say, and Lion President or Lion Chair, or is it going to be what? Are you going to be using the dialect, or are you going to stick to English? The Queen's English. Or is it going to be in between? How formal or informal? If it's too informal, then you may have chaos. So you have to strike a balance. How are members to be dressed? Do they have to wear their vest, or they come without the vest? If you have a virtual meeting, do they put the cameras on or take the cameras off? Okay? Then you guide the discussions, ensuring that the meetings run smoothly, and let everybody, or almost everybody, have a say. And there are ways and means that you can evoke comment from members. And Lion Marcia, what did you say? And Lion Melba, what do you think of this idea? Etc. But don't allow one person to dominate the meeting. Foster an inclusive environment where all members feel valued and heard. Encourage diverse perspectives and collaborative decision-making. Collaborative. I'd give you a tip. There are some committees where even at the board, the president gives his or her opinion first and then asks the members for theirs. In fact, it should be the reverse. The president should give his or her opinion last. So as committee chair, you ask the opinions, ask members to give their opinions, and yours should be last. When you give yours first, some members don't want to go against you, so they just shut up. So remember, your opinion is given last. Provide clear direction. Don't let discussions go off course, and maintain the focus of your objectives. If you are talking about A, don't let anybody take you down to B, C, D, E, and F. Bring the meeting back to A. You could go to the others after A has been decided on, but pull your meeting back, manage your meeting. Summarize decision and action items before the end of the meeting. If you leave the meeting without summarizing, people tend to forget. You yourself will forget. So give a summary of the decisions taken and the items that would require action before the next committee meeting. So, and before the next committee meeting, then you would remind the persons who are responsible for the actions so that they'd be better prepared. Sometimes they forget, they'd be better prepared for reporting at the next meeting. After the meeting, create minutes. And don't wait too long because our memory will play tricks on us. Then distribute the minutes as soon as possible, not the day before, not on the same day. And follow up on action items. As committee chair, you would need to remind members to follow up on the action items. Or you may need to just to check on them to find out how they're going, especially if you delegated. So you call to find out if they're making any progress, if there are any challenges, etc. Don't wait until the next meeting. And then the member would say, well, I was supposed to, or I went to meet the principal of the school and she wasn't there. When if she had told you that before, you would have taken another decision to ensure that greater follow-up would have been achieved. Any questions? Okay. Now, I have samples of proposals, but I would want you to email me and I would send you the samples of different types of proposals that you may need to send to the board. So a proposal is a well-structured committee proposal helps the board of directors to evaluate the feasibility, the impact, and we tend to forget that. Sometimes we do projects, but there's very little impact. So the feasibility, the impact, and the resources before approving the project. Note that the presentation of a proposal does not guarantee its approval. Can anybody tell me or tell us what are some parts of a good proposal? You're making a proposal to the board. What are some of the good parts of the proposal? The important parts of the proposal. Or has anybody written a proposal to the board? What does that proposal look like? All right, nobody, no hands? Okay.
There's a response. There's a
There's one
response that says that a budget should be part of the proposal.
All right, very good point. A budget, and remember we are looking at the feasibility, the impact, and the resources. Is your project feasible? How are you going to convince the board that the project is feasible? What do you need to include? How would you convince the board that the project has will have the greatest impact? What do you need to include?
After you've done your community needs assessment.
Yes. What do you do? What do you put in the project proposal?
In the chat there is beneficiary and
yes.
Beneficiaries and
yes.
And why is it that I'm not seeing the other bit? Hold a second. Let me just move this down. Beneficiaries and manpower requirements.
Two good points. So budget, beneficiaries, manpower requirement. Very good. But there's much more. So let's see. The project, the proposal name, the committee chairperson, date submitted, proposed date for the project, location. And you have an executive, and this is just one example. What is called the executive summary, which is a brief 3 to 4 sentence overview of the proposal, what the goal is, and why it's important to the club. Then you list the specific and measurable outcomes. For example, serve hot meals to 150 individuals in the whatever it is area. If it's a project that aligns with the global causes, you say so. If you're going to have community partners and sponsors, you list the local businesses and organizations you're collaborating with. You would need public relations, marketing for the event. You say how you hope to promote the event, social media, local press, flyers, etc. Now, these are things that many committees ignore, but they're important. Very, very important. Then the budget. And you make a recommendation to the board. You state clearly what action you are requesting from the board. For example, the Ways and Means Committee requests approval to proceed with the event and an allocation of 300 ICTT from the administrative or whatever it is fund to cover the initial expenses.
May I just make an intervention here very quickly, Lionbert?
Yes, Landlady.
I think that this is absolutely excellent. I want to ask the committee chairs here if this preparing of proposals, particularly in the manner that was been shared with us today, is a normal practice within your club. Could I have a hands up just to see? One hand up. So I think sometimes there is a feeling that we just come and we serve, and that's of course important. But I think certainly where Lion Myrtle is pointing us to is that proposal preparations are very, very, you don't have to make it complex, but very, very important to, first of all, focus you on what you want to do. And also very, very important to successful projects. And also very important to ensure that you're not always doing the same things. Because when you do the same things, you don't have to just do it by rote. But pushing ourselves to do proposal preparation, it doesn't have to be complex, but at the beginning is really very, very key to the quality of our service and the projects that we do. So, and I think Lion Myrtle has provided an excellent framework, and she's also offered to share others with us if you so desire.
Well, I hope they desire. And you see, when you have this proposal and you're doing your project evaluation, I don't like the idea of what they call it. Something having to do with the dead. I call it evaluation. When you're doing your evaluation, then you look at what was proposed.
Post-mortem, Line Myrtle?
Yes. I know, something having to do with the dead. So I say when you do your evaluation, you look at what was proposed and you see how well or how badly you would have done. But if you don't have something like this, then how will you measure the success of your project? So we have another example. You have the overview, the name of the project, your name, the date, location, objective and alignment, and you can select, you say the primary cause, and you choose one, whichever one from the global causes. You describe the project briefly. You say who will benefit and how does that serve the local community. Sometimes there is where we stumble, because all we are concerned about is that the project will come off. But if we think of how it would serve, when we are thinking, before we agree on the project, we ask, how will that serve the local community? And when you answer, you realize that, no, I don't think this is a good project. Let's look at something else. But then when you find it's something else and you want to convince the board, you say, who will benefit, how it would serve the local community. Then you would refer to the community needs assessment, of course. Then the action plan and the timeline, resource and personnel requirement, volunteers needed because you may need how many lions and leos, your community partners, your equipment and logistics, you may need permits, what materials, the venues, transportation. The board would need to know all of that to assess the feasibility of the project. Maybe the board would decide that you're hanging your hat higher than you can reach. Maybe the board would say, no, you're too ambitious, think again, because you know the culture of the club. We have aging members and they're not going to come out to do so. You see this place that you're looking to for materials, we have been asking them. There are 2 committees that have been asking them all the time. No, don't depend on them. We can't go back to them because they'd be fed up of us. Then you have a detailed estimate of the expenses and funding sources. Are the funds going to come from the club alone, or some going to come from the members' pockets, or do you have donors, etc.? And then you say, this is important, how will we measure success? Who will do the reporting, especially if it's a service project? And the next step, you present the completed form to your club's board of directors. How many weeks before? Don't present this the day before the board meeting. You must give the board, the secretary or the president, enough time to circulate this information, that the board members would look at it and have questions, which they would ask you when you attend the board meeting to make this presentation. Any questions? I have another one that is written by an organization that wanted to do something with my club. And that organization wrote a comprehensive proposal to our board so that their project would be approved by us to partner with them to go out to schools. And that one I will share with you when I get your email. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at the end of your tenure, or ever so often, I'm suggesting that you do what is called a committee review and self-evaluation, which I'm going to share with you too. And this is an instrument that would allow you, the committee chair, and the members to assess how the committee has been going. So if there is any disharmony, if the committee chair isn't managing the meeting well, if whatever it is, something untoward is happening, then that would be nipped in the bud. Now, I missed a point before. Let me bring it up now. Manage your time and your members' time well. Respect the time that Lions devote to your meetings. So if the meeting is 7 o'clock, start by 7. If you want to give a minute or two, but try to start on time. If you're in the habit of saying, well, we'll wait until the others come, we'll wait until, then you are penalizing those who are on time. So bear that in mind. So now that I have mentioned this self-evaluation, do you think it's necessary? Your silence tells me yes then. Lion Damien, do you think it's necessary? That the committee would evaluate his performance?
Absolutely necessary, Lion Myrtle.
Yeah. This is something that we do not do. And but you know what we do instead? After the meeting, we say, and she did it, and she did it, and he did it, and he did it. And then we say so-and-so was suffering from a term that we used to use long ago, bad chairmanitis. So to avoid that, ever so often, we do the committee self-evaluation. And we have come to this. Any questions?
The floor is open. So may I invite you to raise your hands and I'll recognize you.
See, my email address is there and my phone number.
Yes.
I can be contacted by WhatsApp at any time. Even if you're in 60B, I help a lot of Lions from 60B.
Yes.
Call me anytime. My email is there.
So we have the opportunity now to ask questions. Don't let Lion Myrtle leave without you trying to see if you can pick her brain.
Andrea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good night again, everybody. And thank you, Lion Myrtle, for a wonderful presentation. We are at the point now where you're finding that a lot of members are not as committed as you would have liked them to be. And although sometimes you follow all of these procedures where you include them, you come prepared for you to have a successful meeting, sometimes you feel that there are one or two members who really aren't pulling their weight, or you feel that you're asking for suggestions, opinions, and you're waiting because, I mean, you still come prepared with some ideas of your own, just in case nobody's giving their input. After a while, you start to feel like this is a routine. How do you try to motivate these members without having to lose faith as well in what you have come here to do as a chairperson? Because the reality is sometimes you have committee members that just are not as committed, and you come with all the energy, all the hype, you do all of these things, and then you feel like it's just you and maybe two other members who are already doing all of the work itself. How do we get past those things?
Well, we've got to find out first why they are not speaking, why they're not open. It's not that they can't speak. I know they would speak after the meeting. We need to find out why. But I can tell you there are some of the reasons. Some are afraid to speak. Some perhaps have been shut down when they were in another committee and they were ignored. Some feel intimidated by the committee chair. Some feel that their contribution is not important. So what I would suggest, you as the committee chair, have a chat with the members who are quiet after the meeting and find out why. Perhaps you can give them something to do, a little task, and ask them to present it at the meeting. But encourage them to talk. Sometimes some members just want to be asked. So what about you, Lion Joanne? And Lion Joanne would stay there very quiet. If she's not asked specifically, she wouldn't say anything. And some just don't like to speak at meetings. But let's hope that by using, first find out why. It may be necessary to have some public speaking presentations by the membership development or leadership development chair or committee, because people are afraid to talk. There are so many reasons. It could be that the committee chair is intimidating. It could be that democracy doesn't reign in the committee. But that's something that you can talk about, as we say, early o'clock. When you have your first or second meeting, you try to find out those who are willing to contribute, those who would be a little hesitant, those who don't like to contribute, and see if you could design, you yourself or membership, leadership, or some other seasoned members of the club, design some strategies to encourage members to speak at meetings. You'll be surprised to know that your meeting is not the only one where members have been silent. But you could try that. Speak with them first. Speak with them individually first and find out what is wrong, and then you try other measures. Okay? Any other questions, please? I wonder if it's the right people who came to this workshop, this training.
I think they may be a little shy, but please, I need to tell you that in my experience, this is a very, very comprehensive and useful presentation for committee chairs. That's number one. And number two, Lion Myrtle is a highly experienced lion trainer and is willing to share and answer difficult questions or simple ones. It doesn't matter. Just so feel free, if you have a new idea, if something wasn't touched on, whatever, feel free to grasp this opportunity. Because Lion Myrtle is a wonderful resource and we should take advantage of her.
And I have a lot to share. I have a lot. I beg people to ask me.
Yes, she does. And the wonderful thing about it is that Lion Myrtle is willing to share. And you're in a safe space. There's no question that you're going to ask that is going to appear to be, not a good question. Lion Myrtle will respond. And every question, there is something that we can all learn. So I appeal to you. We don't have much time left. So are there any questions at all that you may have? Please take the opportunity to ask. So I let me pose a question. Lion Myrtle has outlined an approach to planning committees and proposals and etc. and approaching our projects and our execution in a very, very useful way. Absolutely effective if we do it. Can I have a show of hands or comment? Is this generally the practice within your own clubs, as she's outlined in terms of how committees operate?
I would say, no, sorry.
Okay, so Lion Damien, then that voice that I'm not picking up who it is.
Okay.
And then Lion Christopher has a comment, but I wonder if he could speak. So Lion Damien, please go ahead.
Yes, very, very, comprehensive presentation. And I love the point you would have raised just now. And the question I had in my mind, it was around the how do we, as a sub-district, I'm thinking very wide now, get into the practice of, because from what I've observed and, how I've seen the members here responding, the project proposal concept that Lion Myrtle would have, shared does not necessarily seem entrenched across clubs, but it is very useful. How might we as committee chairs, we're encouraged now to adopt it, but how do we advance the idea, and the practice so it becomes a little bit more entrenched?
Lion Myrtle, did you hear the
Well,
question?
yeah. Well, we start here. The committee chairs who are present would start when they go back to the club, make a presentation to the club, or share it with the president or the membership or leadership chair. Share the idea and have the leadership chair put it on his or her calendar very early in the fiscal year, so that the idea would be shared with all the members of the club. And that's at the club level. At the zone level, do the same thing. And at the district level, do the same thing. So we reinforce the idea from top to bottom.
I think that we can take a step at a time, because in some cases the culture does not exist, the practice doesn't exist. But I think you can see or there may even be pushback when one wishes to do this. But I think you can see the value of the approach, and maybe it may take a little time for acceptance. But I think if you use it and you get the kind of results that kind of effective planning does, you can bring lands along with you and on board in this thing. There are some questions in the chat that I just want to bring to your attention, Lion Myrtle. I don't want you to leave without responding. So, Lion Christopher Chinapu, St. Andrew Central in Jamaica.
Hi, Lion Christopher.
Yes, is saying, oh yes, and he hails from your part of the world originally.
Yes.
Okay.
From the same neighborhood too.
Okay. He says, at times, people are fearful to make suggestions on account that they may have to then implement the idea on their own. How do we in committee avoid this?
That's one of the drawbacks we have, because we tend to feel that the person who comes up with the idea should be the person to implement it. But very often it's not. Some of us are just idea person, and some are the persons to implement. And I agree, yes, that people are reticent because they may be given the task.
Yeah.
All they have to say is, no, this is I'm giving the idea. I will not be the person. I am not the person to implement, but I'm just sharing the idea.
Another question from Lion Chris that he might have to explain. How do we avoid the committee chair also having to take full responsibility to the club? And
what does that mean?
Lion Christopher, could you unmute and help us to understand, to peel this, to just have a
sorry
clarity.
about that. I think I'm
no problem. No problem at all.
I was just sharing the scenario where sometimes you find because you are the chairperson, when the suggestions are made, you are then sort of having to carry the workload of the entire committee, because some persons may think that they are spectators in the committee itself. So I do think we have a challenge in persons recognizing that, if the person is the health chair, it doesn't mean that the health chair has to bear the load at every health fair, eye screening that is actually done. So I think what I was looking for was suggestions to sort of encourage more of the persons, not only in the committee, but even the wider club, to have that greater participation in the activities.
Yes.
On committees that they are not on.
Okay. Before I answer, Could we get some suggestions from other members, please?
Okay, there, I just read some comments. If it is a small club, I mean, so they're not, let me just throw that out so that in addition, if it's a small club, Lion Coletta McDonald is asking this question. If it's a small club with same members doing everything, how do we stay motivated and not feel too overwhelmed as committee chairs? So hold that question and let me just add the other. Okay, no, the other is a also need to use a non-hormonal backup method. So this is from Pauline Allen. Great presentation as usual. There are things to be done, but of course, we fall off the wagon. If there could be a charge that we all start going back to basics from now until it's entrenched in the wider arena like the district. So she's suggesting, I think, Lion Polly, that the culture around committees and preparing for projects, and really, you know, we're accomplished people, doing it seriously, seems to have waned somewhat. I have heard the thing here is that I've just come to serve, and in some cases that definition of service means I will be present at the project. But the development of impactful projects, etc., is sometimes seen as burdensome to some. So you got the two questions, Lion Myrtle, and the overall thing. So I leave it to you now to respond.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the first instance where you have members not motivated and perhaps they just turn up, you may have a problem. You may have a membership involvement problem. You may have some discontent in the club. So I would suggest the membership chair would do a membership assessment. I don't know what you call it. There are different ways to find out why members are not motivated. And then work from there. It could be that the project itself didn't get the blessing of the majority of members on the committee. It could be that it was a project that was suggested maybe by the president. So we have that sometimes, or a particular member, and push down the throat of the other members so they don't participate. But if it is a habit, then that's a membership problem, and it should be reported or mentioned to the membership chair and something done at the club level. Most likely, that negative attitude is not in the particular committee alone, but in more than one.
Yes, Myrtle.
And what's the other one?
The other one had to do with the fact that, let me see if I can find it again, please. Let me just, the question from, or the comment from Pauline, going into a question is, great presentation. So let me read it. There are things to be done, but of course, we fall off the wagon. If there could be a charge that we all start going back to basics from now until it is entrenched in the wider arena like the district. So I think she is suggesting that our approach to project planning and maybe the whole has waned, and clearly that would affect our projects. And in my experience, what it does, if I may just add to that, is that we end up doing the same old because we're not. So she's asking the question or making a suggestion: how do we revitalize that process?
Well, we just made a start, and we spread the word.
Yes,
it's not going to happen overnight, but we keep on pressing on. You know what amazes me is that we We say that we want quality members, and we want members of a certain ilk, and we want persons who have connections, etc. But when they come into the club, then we settle for mediocrity or something less than that. So if we're going to have an impactful project and a project that we would want the world to know of course we must have a proposal and we must do it properly.
Yes,
There
that's
are
a
no two
challenge.
ways about that. So you can imagine we are going to attract persons from the business community or from the higher echelons of government, and we are doing a project and we write something, two things on a paper and present it to the board, and we expect them to be satisfied. Then of course when you have the project, they're not going to turn up because already from the get-go they think it's a waste of time.
And sometimes it ends with us also losing membership because we don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We settle for mediocrity, and we have to get back to be very professional. We tell people that when you come into Alliance, you learn to be better professionals, and there is training in this, and you could take the training back to your workplace. And then what?
But further, we come into Alliance as professionals who are capable, who have experience, who, talent, whatever. And those skills, I think, should be used.
Exactly.
In the development of in the work of the club, in our service ethic and what we do. Sometimes there is some pushback on that as well. So I think we have to
raise the bar.
Right. Thank you so much, Lion Murphy, for that, for summarizing that. Okay. Any other questions? I think I don't want to press you too much. It's 3 minutes to 8 Jamaica time, which means that it is 3 minutes to 8 in 9 in the Eastern Caribbean and also in Trinidad. I don't,
Yeah.
And maybe it's past Lion Murphy's bedtime. So
I set her ready for the day.
Okay. Are there any more questions? We will wrap up very shortly. There is a question here about meeting recordings to be shared and the information. Okay, I'm now seeing a question from Lion Garfield. Sorry, Lion Garfield. I'll answer the questions about recording at the end. His question is, how many projects are to be implemented for the year by the health chairperson? Not sure if you can answer that. But
no, that's determined by the club.
Yes, and the context and
yes,
your community
the
assessment
community needs,
and so, right? Yes.
And the club's calendar and Lions International calendar.
Yes. And the partnerships that you may forge,
exactly.
Those kinds of things. But it goes on to say, the question is not finished. What is the magnitude of the impact expected from these projects?
But I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Yes.
The club will.
Yes. So you've answered the question by saying that is a decision that the club makes.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, there are a range of projects that you can have. All of them have impact. And you have to define what you really mean by impact, because you could go into a small community and have the work that you do and how you measure impact is it is almost life-changing, huh? Or are you looking at numbers and media and all these kinds of things? So I think it's useful for you to determine the criteria for impact. That will and that's part of how the club sees itself, what it wants to do. And that's why these discussions are important,
You know what I have concluded from what I'm hearing is that we need, well, like I'd say you need to have more discussions on this topic, and with a view to having more impactful projects, have more efficiently run committees, and better marketing. And we will do away with, Lion Malcolm would refer, I don't know if you're familiar with the Piao Piao projects.
Yeah,
You remember
yes.
that term?
Oh, yes, I'm very much
Yeah.
familiar. Yeah, with
Yes.
that, but yes,
And we would get rid of the Piao Piao projects.
yeah, yes, yes. I think, and you know what happens, for instance, I'll use this I say this very quickly. Sometimes we don't feel we have the tools, but you know what one good thing about AI, let's say that you are in community ABC, located in district so and so of a country so and so. If you put very specific information, and sometimes we don't spend the time to do the community assessments, but we now have tools that can help us
Exactly.
to identify,
Yeah.
right, and makes that work easier. And the community assessments then can help us in light of how the club sees itself, what it wants to do, how it wants to impact lives, how it wants to serve, what is Lions International saying, what is the district governor saying, etc. You can then determine, the area or areas you will work in. But it does take effort, it does take planning.
It does take the right leadership.
Right, exactly.
With the foresight.
Yes.
And
exactly.
it does take work.
Yes, it does.
But how
It's
much
not,
work we are prepared to do to transform the organization at all levels is the million-dollar question.
for which you don't have an answer, Lionel.
No, I don't have an answer.
I think each club would have to answer it for themselves.
Exactly. Yes.
Lion Garfield is asking, and I think maybe he might have missed that part of the presentation. I don't know if he came in late. I'll come to you shortly, Lion Chris. What is the best way to measure the impact of a project?
But you had answered it, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
no, and you dealt with it in the presentation. So there is a real sense, right, that there's no A, B, C, 1, 2, 3 about measuring impact. It depends on the project. So what is your objective for
Exactly. Yeah.
That starts with it, okay? And the context, etc. And then thereafter, you can say, in light of that, this is the impact that we would like to achieve. And you can then break it down into ways that,
Is it a one and done project?
Right.
Measurable. Would we have follow-up projects?
Right. Is it a 3-year project that
exactly.
will go from this, but the underlying issues start as your assessment and the objectives. And objectives change, right? They're not cast in concrete, but guiding you through it. So maybe by the time you finish it too, and we used that word earlier, Myrtle, evaluate. As you go to the next phase, you might embellish it, you might add portions, you might, from your experience. And so it is it can develop into something based, or in some cases you might have projects, depending on the project, that are one-off kinds of opportunities. But all of that really and truly requires you to say, what is the objective of the project? And all the other kinds of things that were provided in this presentation in terms of how you develop the project proposal. And it's not daunting. I think the process in itself is important, is an important discipline. But what I found is that the process in itself can also be a wonderful place for exchange of ideas and embellishment and really coming up with really, really effective projects.
So it's not done by one person.
Right. It's done by a team. And it's an important step, because then after that, not only do you have something that you have buy-in and you have participation and those kinds of things. And I hope excitement and, and, you know,
And you know what? When we start doing that, members are going to feel more involved. They would
yes,
get greater membership satisfaction. They'd see
yes,
themselves being a part of something that's big
yes,
and meaningful and
yes,
something that makes sense.
yes.
They'd want
And
to
so,
spread the word. The committee that starts that would be complemented by the president. Other
yes,
members would want to do the same.
yes, yes.
So let's
And,
start.
and
Let's start
the
it.
longest journey starts with the very first step.
Yeah.
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 And we've been provided with a wonderful, I have to tell you, I don't know if I said it before, but if I said it before, it bears repeating. The content of this committee chair's presentation that Lion Myrtle has prepared for us is immensely valuable and very, very useful. I have not seen many as effectively presented as this. And if you take it, read it, even discuss it, you will find it very, very, very helpful. Lion Garfield is thanking us for the responses.
But just before Lion Garfield, what I do too, I have done, is I do just what I've done here with clubs, with committees.
Yes.
So if you go back to your club and the consensus is that they want me to repeat it for the particular club, for your club, we can arrange that I do it and go into greater detail.
Absolutely. And Lion Myrtle has provided her credentials, so there are no barriers. And certainly you can, the information will be shared. There was a question about recording, but I know that the information will certainly be shared.
No.
And if you,
To whom can
what,
I send this presentation? To you, Lion Denise?
you can send it to me and I'll pass it on to the committee chair.
Okay then.
And in turn, we will then ensure that it is properly, it's shared across the.
Okay.
And if here we've had a tremendous offer. So if we do ever have a recording, you can get her live and in living color, because she has made an offer, a generous offer of being prepared to come to clubs and share this with you. So grasp that opportunity if you feel that this will be very, very useful to your club. Now, Lion Chris, it may very well be the last question. Lion Chris has a comment here. Or a suggestion that I will share. He says, we need to spend time developing sound theory of change documents and project plans. We now have the great aid of lionvirtual.org and Ellie. Okay. All right. So so that's his comment. So what he's saying is, I think what we've said earlier is that there are tools available to us that will make this thing a little easier, information gathering. And I tell you what, after you gather the information, you can even get help from these tools in terms of the writing of the proposal that you can then tweak. Don't swallow everything 100.
Please don't just write everything that
No. Critique it and regard it as a start that you then modify for your own particular situation, to get the impact that you need. So there is again the repeated questions about the recording. What I do know for sure is that for those persons who have signed up, you certainly will get the presentation itself. And I'm sure the chair, Lion Louis, I don't know if you're online still. Can you answer the question as to whether we'd also get the recordings? But I know you will get the material that has been shared here. You will get Lion Myrtle's contact information, and she's a wonderful resource, etc. Wherever in the world you are, Lion Janice, so you can be reassured of that. All present, but the question is coming from Lion Janice. Watson, will recordings be shared? Right. So we are going to share whatever we can share, that's for sure. Because the idea here is we're here to help people develop and be able to do their role better. And on that journey, this is the start, you might need additional help. And certainly Lion Myrtle has indicated will help, and there will be other resources. So at this point, Lion Myrtle has said thank you, and I think that certainly on your behalf, I would like to thank Lion Myrtle for being with us this evening and sharing in the way that she has shared. We have had the opportunity to hear somebody who has a depth of experience and has met all kinds of situations, and I think has shared with us certainly an approach committee chairs, which I think is invaluable. So we are blessed and highly favored to have had her here this evening, and I'm really very pleased that she agreed. So can we have the balloons going up and a few roars as we express our appreciation to Lion Myrtle? And of course, we're holding on to her and her promise to continue to support us. Yes. So thank you so much, Lion Myrtle. Oh, yes, we
You
are
are most
having
welcome, and it's my pleasure.
Okay. Thank you very much. So with that, I want to thank the participants for coming. And if there are any questions, you can remember connect with Lion Louis, the chair of our committee and leadership committee, and clearly thereafter the other members, and we are at your service. So thank you so very much for attending this evening, and have a good evening.